All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off this market analysis with just a broad view, right? So our investing thesis, and remember, not trading, investing thesis, is that the world is going to transition towards a certain direction within the next 8 years. So just to reaffirm, if you didn't watch the video that we just did, the weekly video, this is what we're looking at. Okay, this is an updated chart. This is how much Sam Bankman-Fried's net worth was worth when at his peak, $25 billion, which means $26 billion, which means this one square is $100 billion, okay? Our investing thesis is that cryptocurrency at its peak was taking up this many dollars, okay? These squares were cryptocurrency. Within the next 8 years, we are going to see those few squares take over the value from the rest of the value in the world. So stocks, bonds, currencies, real estate, everything is going to the blockchain and is going to be referred to as cryptocurrency because it's going to be tokenized versions of all of these things. So our thesis is that these few squares will eventually take over 85% of all the currency in the world. This is hard cash in the world, okay? Will take over a vast majority of the gold. Will take over a vast majority of the central bank balance sheets. Remember, one of these squares is 100 billion US dollars. Will take over at least 85% of the value within the S&P 500. It'll take over at least 85% of the global money supply will flow on the blockchain through CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Will take over the vast majority of the stock markets. So this is all the stock markets together, okay? Remember, these few squares right here are going to take over these squares, these squares, these squares, that much money, these ones. Global debt, a vast majority of it will flow on the blockchain. This is $300 trillion. Real estate is going to be tokenized. It's going to go onto the blockchain. This is global residential real estate. This is agricultural real estate. This is commercial real estate. Those squares will expand to the value of all of these squares. Most of the global wealth will be digitized in this process within the next 8 to 15 years. All of this. So all of this, global wealth is going to be on there. Most of the wealth, let's say 85% of the wealth, and then the derivatives, which is right now they're saying $612 trillion of value that will flow on the blockchain. All of that. Those few squares are going to expand to all of that. What that means is there will be an opportunity for the investors who get in when things are really small to benefit from this transition of wealth from all these different spaces to the blockchain itself. That's our investing thesis. Has that changed? No. That's gotten even stronger with currencies melting down and countries melting down, and all the things that we've seen in the world, okay? Keeping that in mind. Where we are today in crypto is here, right? This is the total crypto market that we're looking at in log scale. It basically, realistically, it started back in 2008, but it's gone through a small growth curve and got up to about $3 trillion at its peak, and now it's at about a $768 billion of value. Remember, that whole chart we're looking at is quadrillions of dollars of value, thousands of trillions of dollars of value, millions of billions of dollars of value, millions of billions of dollars of value, and right now we're at 1,000 billion. Okay, so there's 990 million billion dollars of value. Doesn't even make sense. That's supposed to transition to this space. That's without them printing money. They're going to print 90% of the money supply in the next, 15 years. So when we're thinking about that thesis, is crypto at a good buy position? Yes. Even buying it right here at the top at 3 trillion, going from 3 trillion to 1,000 trillion, that still leaves $997 trillion of value that's potential that's going to flow on the space. And again, when you expand the money supply 10 times, that goes into, that goes into $10,000 trillion of value. And we're at 3 trillion. And right now we're at 1 trillion, $0.7 trillion of value. Is that going to happen? Yes. Do I then invest in that? Yes. That's why we invest in all of this stuff. Okay. So what's going on in the markets today is there has been a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt when it comes to Binance, okay? So when it came to Binance, there's been a shit ton of fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's been pumped into the markets, first related to inflation. The reason why we've been saying that the financial world has been so concerned is inflation is getting crazy. And inflation is just the idea that as you expand the money supply, as you inflate the money supply like a balloon, and if the balloon itself is the global economy, and the more you expand it with adding more money, the more worthless people's money gets that's in their bank account because you have more money out there in the system. That makes it so that people's purchasing power is going down, and because of that, investors have gotten scared and they've been pulling money out of the markets because they're saying our purchasing power is going to go down in the future. That's why the markets have gone down. Inflation as a concept does not just continue. It doesn't just keep shooting up. It goes like this. It goes in waves, okay? The reason is because inflation is calculated from what inflation is compared, how much inflation is it there this month compared to last year this month. And inflation started last year this month. It started to go up around those times. So when you calculate it like that, inflation has to peak. So as the Fed has been raising rates and increasing the interest rate for how much it is to borrow debt, that inflation is peaking. It's starting to slow down. As that inflation peaks, the amount of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the markets, FUD in the markets, goes to a peak. So that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a spike in the FUD, which is a spike in the scary news about inflation destroying people's wealth and people being scared of it. What's one of the final things that's happening in that process is Binance is being attacked by the mainstream media to say Binance is going to go down. Binance is going to go down. Is Binance going to go down? Yes, at some point. Is it going to go down tomorrow? I don't know. Okay? But right now, it doesn't look like Binance is going to go down. The bigger concern we have is that the cost of mining Bitcoin has gone above the price of Bitcoin. So what happens is, because Bitcoin is the king of crypto, when miners mine Bitcoin, they have to spend a bunch of energy to mine one Bitcoin. When the price of Bitcoin is higher than the price that the miners can mine it for, then they're in profit. Then they usually don't sell because they're making profit. When that price of energy that it costs to mine Bitcoin goes below the price of Bitcoin, then the miners start to liquidate and sell because they're not in profit. They want to get their money as quickly as possible. So one of the scary things that we've seen right now is the price of miners mining Bitcoin has gone down to, now it's gone down to about $17,000 and has gone down below the price of Bitcoin. And now the price of Bitcoin is like $16,000 something dollars. The cost of mining Bitcoin is at $17,000. One of the final things you see play out in the capitulation phase of a market is miners capitulate because they're the ones who hold on the strongest. There's miner capitulation that we're looking at that is something that could be another drop in the markets. There's GBTC, which is Grayscale's Bitcoin trust, which is also potentially selling Bitcoin, which could drop the prices. So we're in that final stage of dropping prices. It's probably going to happen between now and April. Between now and April, we're going to see a lot of volatility in this market. And usually around Christmas, something happens because everybody's busy between Christmas and New Year's with other stuff. So in the background, the financial markets will cause turbulence because people aren't paying attention. This process of miners' price going down below will probably cause a drop in miners selling. Okay, and this is miner outflow. This is miners basically basically selling at this point. So when you see these spikes happen, you see spike, price drop, spike, price drop, spike on a price drop, spike on a price drop. So we are starting to see that go up. If that continues, which is very likely to continue, prices will drop further, even further. At the same time, we have seen outflows from Binance in a really big way. Now, the good thing about Binance is it's not FTX. They actually have people's money, or it seems like, you can't trust anything these days. It seems like they have the money that people have deposited into Binance. So as people are pulling out the money, people have pulled out about $3 billion in the last 2 days from when this news came out. Binance has been perfectly fine in the process. So Binance might not go down, but if Binance goes down, then we go into a deep crypto winter and a lot of panic hits the markets. At the same time, we are now seeing this long-term holder SOPR. So it's basically a metric that shows, are long-term holders buying or are long-term holders selling, or are long-term holders holding? Remember, long-term holders and miners and exchanges and trusts and institutions, they're the last ones to let go of Bitcoin. We've seen this massive spike in long-term holders selling in the last little while. So long-term holders selling and miner selling could be something that causes prices to drop lower, which is all great. This is fantastic. We're super excited about that because that means more discounts in the markets, right? Another thing that we're seeing is that there's a lot of, we've seen a massive spike, we haven't seen a spike this big, of money transitioning to the derivatives markets, okay? What that means is people are moving their money from the traditional spot market where you just buy and sell crypto to the casino market where you can make bets on the price of crypto going up and down. And we've seen this massive spike of money flowing into those markets. Usually that's not a good sign. You know, when people start to move their money and they start to make massive bets and take out debt to actually buy things, that's usually a sign that, you know, there's more pain ahead. It could be a sign that people are starting to have faith, but at this point, faith is few and far between in the markets. It's more likely a sign that people are starting to make massive bets on debt when it comes to the crypto markets, which usually leads to people losing a bunch of their money. Again, all of this is a fantastic sign that, you know, there is a final kind of blow-off bottom coming. It could be a blow-off bottom, or it could be, you know, just a bottom that's coming into the markets. Either way, we're happy to see that process happen. And then, where was the 3 to 6 month? I don't know where it is. We've also seen a spike in the 3 to 6 month holders of crypto starting to dump it, which is also another sign that it's likely that that the prices are going to go lower. Another great opportunity to buy. Now, if you're wondering what all this is our pro crypto channel. Same as Pro Crypto Tips. This is where we take a lot of our paid channels and a lot of resources which you may not, for the more intermediate to advanced players in the game, that you can access and have access to all of these things separately. So in all of that happening, on one side, the thesis is $1,000 trillion of value will flow, let's say $850 trillion of value will flow on the blockchain within the next 8 years. That's great. At the same time, you're seeing people fleeing the markets, this always happens. People run when it's the best times. Inflation is starting to peak and come down, yet the markets are dropping on that news. A lot of the financial markets nowadays don't make sense. They're actually meant to be opposite of what the true reality is. It's likely that inflation is going to peak and start to come down. That's going to be a signal for the Federal Reserve to start slowing down the rates, slowing down the raising of the rates. If anything, they're going to pause the raising of the rates. When they pause the raising of the rates, that's when the markets go, okay, there's not going to be any more pain in the markets. Let's rush back into the markets. Then likely sometime in 2023, we will have an event that will break the financial markets, which becomes an excuse for central banks to print money and dump it in the markets. Because remember, the goal of the central banks is to print money and dump it into the markets so that the money that we're holding the cash that we're holding in our bank accounts becomes more and more worthless, which means more of that purchasing power goes to the people who are getting that printed money. And that's how they're taking control of all of this stuff. Now you're watching them take control of the crypto assets. As these institutions collapse, they take control of it and they buy it while in bankruptcy. You're seeing all of these things kind of come to a T. Between 2023 and 2024, sometime in March of 2024 is the projected halving event for Bitcoin, which is usually when the next run happens. Between sometime in 2023 to 2024 sometime, we are going to see a resurgence. Crypto is going to come back. I don't think it just shoots off to the moon because it would be too obvious. I think it does come back, and there's that final exit point for us to be able to get out and go back to cash as crypto drops and then the value of cash goes up again. I know some of this stuff sounds paradoxical, but this is how it goes. It's kind of reverse thinking. Right now, the value of cash, the value of dollars, has gone up a lot and dropped. Okay? We'll probably see as the markets drop in this next quarter, next few months, the dollar's value go back up again. At that point, we're going to start dumping more dollars into the crypto markets and asset markets in general. Then the dollar will drop as the markets go up. Then the markets will drop as the dollar goes up. And right now, as the dollar goes back up again, most likely, at that point, we start moving the dollars into the asset markets. When the asset markets go up, we move into the dollar. And then around 2024 sometime, middle of 2024, let's say, as the crypto markets drop and the general markets drop even further, we would go back from the crypto markets back into the dollar itself. So there's not much that's new here, but these are some different signals that are also signaling that the final people who need to capitulate, the miners, the institutions, the long-term holders, all of them are giving up hope. And if you're somebody who's giving up hope, this is not the time to give up hope. This is the time to actually gain more hope and actually, move into the markets themselves. So just looking at the momentum analysis that we have through Market Cipher, we've seen the momentum on the dollar slow down. We've had this massive peak of momentum. Usually, like we've discussed, it comes down in waves. So now we've had negative momentum. It'll probably go back up again, have some positive momentum, and then come back down. The crypto markets have had a massive amount of negative momentum, and that seems to be subsiding. There will probably be more dumps along the way. If Bitcoin goes below 10K, I would not be surprised. Today it is at $16,823. If it goes below $10,000, that would cause a lot of fear and panic in the markets, which is a psychological point that a lot of people would give up because they have their stop losses set at 10,000. After beyond that point, anything below 13,000 becomes an insane buy. Anything below 10,000 becomes just an absolute amazing buy. Me personally, I'm queuing more and more into that. Maybe Bitcoin is a bit of a trick, because the media has kept us focused on Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is the king. Bitcoin is the king. Institutions do want Bitcoin. That's why they're going to take control of Bitcoin and hold it as like gold, like a reserve asset. But I think Bitcoin, the game of Bitcoin, is coming to an end. It has had this massive growth curve. Now that everybody's watching Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin will go down. It'll come back up, but it won't go back up to all-time highs. I think it will start to, like, when you actually look at, where is it? PBR. No, this one. When you're looking at Bitcoin like this, it has become super undervalued right now. It's not super undervalued, but it's undervalued. I think it reverts back to mean and it goes above that a little bit, so somewhere around this like 50-ish K range, and then it comes back down and goes into a major crash with the rest of the markets themselves. I think the opportunity is mainly in Ethereum and players below that, because Ethereum is actually being used, and Ethereum's growth curve is not as long as Bitcoin, right? Ethereum is much newer. It had its first pump in 2017. So look at altcoins, right? And even this idea of Bitcoin and altcoins, focus on Bitcoin and everything else is a shitcoin altcoin. I think that whole concept has been put into our minds for a reason. I think these are not altcoins. These are businesses. These are projects. These are programming languages. These are apps. These are all the implementations of crypto that are actually going to be used by people. And I think that's where the growth is going to be for the next cycle itself. So again, for me, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Matic, Algorand, Chainlink, XLM, which is Stellar Lumens, XDC. I think all of these are fantastic buys, and they are projects that are going to have an Algorand. I don't know if I mentioned Algorand, no. All of those are, and Quant, those are all projects that have insane amounts of potential coming up. For the XRP lawsuit, it could go out, it looks like it's going to go out all the way out until March, potentially. So, just hang in there, stick with it in this process. If you haven't watched our talk that we did today, we did a panel. It was fantastic. We talked about how to deal with fear in the markets. Right now is the time to deal with fear and build a strategy and build a plan with a 3 to 5 year outlook minimum that allows you to benefit from these discounts that are coming up. Just set up your strategy and on-ramps and off-ramps. If you want help with that, always reach out. This is a service that we provide. So excellenceconsulting.co, you could go there, or there's a link in the description below that you can join. I'm reluctantly going to be putting this on YouTube now because there's a lot of people that can gain value from it. So do like and subscribe. We'll be giving you a lot of this paid content and a lot of this knowledge. And we'll also be posting shorts, just very quick 1 minute, 30-second bits that you can digest and learn a lot more about this whole process. So yeah, thank you for being here. It's a good week. Let's see how it goes ahead. And just remember to enjoy the holidays and spend time with the family and, enjoy the good life. See you guys next time.